Hello, my lovely friends. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing something a little bit differently. Today I am going to be doing a live TBR. I did this a couple of months ago with my Vaultathon TBR because I did not have time to not my Vaultathon. I know what I'm talking about. I did this a couple of months ago with my Fablin TBR because I didn't have time to film it and edit it and all of that good stuff. And just the way that life has been going and all of the announcements that have been going on, I was just like, you know what? Why don't we do this one live? That does mean that I'm not going to be able to do as many, I won't be able to pop up people's pictures on the screen as I'm talking about the co-host, but they are linked down in the description box. And I did have to go with all books that I own for these recommendations. So hello, Brianna. Thank you for joining us. So basically what you are in for right now is we are going into round 10 of Vaultathon. And I am going to be giving you what I will be reading for Vaultathon because once again, I'm being extra, and also my recommendations if you are looking for something at the last minute to be able to add to your TBR. If there's a prompt that you've been having an issue with, all of that stuff. If you are in the comments, feel free to chime in with your own recommendations. I'm more than happy to take those and put those on the screen and talk about them. But I did come up with 2 per prompt, at least book related prompt. So speaking of, why don't we just get into that? So like I said, you guys are getting so many things that I edit out of my videos, which is going to be all right. So anyways, all 3 of those, just take a shot every time. Actually, I would pick one and then take a shot if you really want to get drunk. But anyways, hello. Thank you for joining us. My phone is about to die. So we'll see how well this works out. It's fine. I have everything that I need in my, here. I've got all of the stuff. It's also in the description. And this is why you set things up ahead of time, which I never do. So anyways, we are going into round 10 of Vaultathon. Every year, or not every round, we pick a movie and we pick a group book. This round, the movie is going to be Hercules, classic Disney favorite, one that really I would love to see a live action, but a real live action, not like some of the other ones that they've done. And then our group book for that is going to be Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko. This is a story about our main character, whose name I have already forgotten, Terasai. And Terasai has been living, I believe, let me see. Yes, okay, I have read so many synopses today. This is about Terasai, and she has been living kind of in isolation, raised by a very distant mother figure is what I've been told. And what happens is her mother is raising her to become part of this prince's council because he has a council of people, and every person on that council, he gets immune to another type of death. So he cannot be killed. However, the people on the council can kill him. So she has been raised to get on this council and then go eventually kill the prince. Problem is that she starts to earn his trust, and they kind of sort of become best friends. And so she can't, she's very conflicted about, should I do what my mother asked me to do? Should I stay with these people who are the family I've been looking for this entire time? It sounds very, very good, and I have yet to hear a bad thing about this book. I'm sure there are people out there who don't like it, but I have yet to hear anything bad about this book. So this fits all of the book-related prompts for Vaultathon. If you want any more information about dates, all of that stuff that's going on, I do have the announcement video linked down in the description box. We will be also joined by 5 co-hosts, and they are, hold on, let me pull up my list. They are Bree over at Bree Van McKay, Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading, Cal from Retrieving Books, Paige from Pages with Paige, and then Thor from Thor Wants Another Letter. So we do have a few new faces this time around. Thank you very much to everyone. And I just realized why did it not complete the title? You guys probably have a very different title than what I am showing in StreamYard because StreamYard did not update what I updated on YouTube. Anyways, main point of today is the TBR. Is that everything that I needed to tell you at the beginning? Just to kind of okay, perfect. So there will be kickoff reading sprints tomorrow. I'm thinking probably about 7:30 because that gives me time to get home, get food, get all of that, get things set up. And they will be on my channel. I will be putting up a sprint schedule here in the next day or so, either today or tomorrow. I just have to finalize things with the co-hosts, so you will know when we'll be doing reading sprints, whether they'll be on Twitter or they'll be on YouTube, all of that good stuff. I have a feeling that most of them are going to be on YouTube just because that is the way to do reading sprints these days. I don't think I see very many people doing them on Twitter anymore. I could be wrong about that, but maybe it's just the group that I hang out with. But anyways. All right, so starting out, I keep forgetting my phone is going to die, so I probably shouldn't be depending on it for these things. So starting out with the book-related prompts, the first one is Hercules, and that is to read a book about a character searching for belonging. I am going to be reading Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. This one is a little bit of a stretch, I know, but like part of what Sophie is dealing with in this is that she doesn't feel like she belongs in her family. So we're going to go with this. It is on my TBR for whatever month this is. September? I think it's September. It's on my TBR for this month, and I need to read it. So it's also middle grade, so it's very short, and I know the audiobook is good if I need to read the audiobook. I usually try to do 2 audiobooks, 2 physical books. Usually one of the physical books is the group book. So my recommendations, we're just going to have a pile of books back there. My recommendations for characters that are searching for belonging are going to be Other Words from Home by Jasmine Warga. Do I need to explain what Howl's Moving Castle is, guys? Do you guys know? It's about a girl who gets cursed to be an old woman, and she goes out into the wilderness to be the housekeeper for the evil wizard Howl. Why are you buzzing at me? Yeah, it's telling me. It's telling me that the battery is dying. It's fine. Technology, it makes your life easier till it doesn't. But anyways, yeah, it's about Sophie Hatter, and it's delightful. I love it. I love the movie. I love the book even more. Anyways, Other Words from Home by Jasmine Warga is about Judah, and she is a young girl who has moved to the United States from Syria during one of the conflicts that's happened over there more recently. I am not up to date on what's going on over there, but when a whole bunch of stuff was going down in Syria, her family moved over. It's a book told in verse, and it's about her learning to kind of like fit in with her family over here, with the school. It's wonderful. There's a lot of identity that is explored here. There are a lot of questions that she's asked or is asking. It's kind of like a middle grade, almost coming of age story, and will make you cry at the end. You just like, if you don't, you have a hard heart. You're a robot like me. Highly recommend this. I don't see people talking about this book enough, and it is absolutely wonderful. The next book that I'm going to recommend for this particular prompt is Black Rabbit Hall by Eve Chase. This is about, I don't even remember their names at this point. Let's be honest. Amber and Lorna. So we follow 2 timelines in this one, and we have, yes. I have heard very good things about Amina's voice. I think Brianna just recently read that one. Is that right, Brianna? You reviewed it in a recent wrap-up, I could swear. But this is about Lorna and Amber. Amber is in the past, and we follow her after a tragedy happens at her family manor, Black Rabbit Hall. And then in the present, that's the word. In the present, we follow Lorna, and Lorna is currently trolling about the English countryside, trying to find somewhere to have her wedding, and she stumbles upon Black Rabbit Hall, which very much resembles this place that she remembers her mother taking her to when she was younger. And so there's a lot of like stuff going on there, and it's such an interesting like storyline. There is a lot of stuff that Lorna herself is dealing with, trying to figure out, like just a lot of family mysteries that she is dealing with that have a kind of a deep-seated sense of unease within herself and like questioning of who she is, what's going on. And it is such a good book. So good. That ending, again, the ending kicks you. If you really like family stories, it gets you. If you couldn't tell, this is where all of my books go when I'm filming. I just toss them on the bed. You can't see it because I do it off camera, but all right. Our second prompt for this readathon is the Muses, and that is to read a book by a Black woman. I will be using Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko to fulfill that prompt for obvious reasons. Really excited to read it. I'm very hyped to read this book. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And when I realized it fit the prompts, I was like, yes. This can be used for any of the prompts. So this definitely, like, just reading this one book, I'll have everything covered, but it is specifically going to be used for that prompt. For books that I am going to be recommending for this particular prompt, I'm going to say Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. We follow Bree in this, and it's like a YA kind of almost a crossover type story where we have Bree, who she's going to college. She's got into this early college program, and while she is there at the college, living on her own for her first time, trying to get away from just the memories of her mom, because her mother has recently died in kind of a way that was very traumatic for Bree. And so she is trying to get away from that, start a new life, kind of get away from the grief. And she's at this college, and one day she happens to see like these really weird spectral creatures that no one else seems to notice except for like this one dude. And she's like, am I crazy? And then it turns out that she is not. What she's seeing are creatures that not everyone can see. And there's this whole secret society based around King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table that not many people know of, but they are here kind of keeping those creatures in check. I know a lot of people have compared this to City of Bones. And I think that if you liked kind of that secret society, all of the stories are true type vibe, definitely pick this up. I will say, I think that Tracy Deonn is a much better writer. As much as I love her, I think she's a better writer than Cassandra Clare, and she does that trope very, very well. She does it so much better than it's done in City of Bones. I know a lot of people will be like, oh my God, it's a City of Bones, copycat, knockoff. And I'm just like, but she did it better. Like, it's so much better writing than Cassandra Clare. Just as much as I love her, but she has an overwriting problem. I'm sorry, Cassie, if you're watching this. She is not. She doesn't even know I exist, probably. Brianna also is pointing out something very important. The sequel, Bloodmarked, which you will want and need by the time you finish this book, is coming out in November. And I will be at my bookstore to buy it. Will I read it? Probably not, but I will buy it. The other one that I wanted to recommend is actually an adult fantasy romance, and it's a recommendation of this series and then of another series that she just recently published or started in March. This is the first book in the Earthsinger series, Song of Blood and Stone. I can read by Elle Penelope. She writes really good fantasy romance books. This is more heavily focused on the romance. The second book in this series, which is right here, this one's a little bit more focused on the world. So if you read this and you feel like, where is the world building? What's going on? Like, she gives you enough for the romance to work and for like the plot to work. And then this gives you a lot more of the world and goes a lot deeper while still having a really compelling relationship between the two characters. I would say her newest book, Savage City, is more in the vein of this one. And that one's like even better than these. I love them. Basically, we are in a world, and I don't remember the names of the countries. They are Elsira and Lagrimar. And these two countries have been, for reasons, separated by like a magical veil. And we pick up with these two characters, Jasminda, and I believe his name is Jack. Is it Jack? Yeah, Jack. As this veil is failing and they're trying to save it, trying to keep it from falling because the other country is known for like just coming in and wiping them out continually. Like, every time there is a breach in the veil, bad stuff happens for them. And so we follow them trying to fix this. She meets Jack as a spy. I think it's the Lagrimar. Yeah, he's being held captive by a group of Lagrimari soldiers, and she is part Elsira and part Lagrimari, living kind of almost on that border between the two countries. And so she ends up saving him, and because she has this Earthsinger magic, he recruits her to help him try and fix things, and that leads to a whole other set of complications for her and for him. And it's really great. I love it so much. And then Savage City is about this girl that dies, and then she wakes up in the body of this princess that's like her doppelganger in an alternate kind of dystopian world where everyone is fighting over this substance called bliss, and she has to work with one of the people that lives outside of the city. He's been captured and brought in. She has to work with him to kind of help figure out some of what's going on. And that you'll see if you watch my wrap up. I have more information on that one. So I go into more detail on that one, and then I'll probably be doing a full-fledged review of that one as well at some point. So our next prompt is going to be the gospel truth. Read a book inspired by the past. For that one, it can be mythology, it can be folklore, it can be history, any of the things that you'd like, anything that is from the past, it works. I am going to be reading another book that is on my TBR, thank goodness, and that is Armshot and the Song of Death by Roshni Chokshi. This is the second book in the Armshot series, and it has a thumbprint on it. Well, I'll have to fix that. The Armshot series, which we will talk about probably in a hot minute, but this is the second book. It is the book that we are reading in September for our read-along that I am doing with Thor from Thor Wants Another Letter. And I'm very excited to see what happened. I read the first book last year and was like, ooh, I've got to pick this up and start reading it right away. And then, yeah, we're here like a year later. So. Anyways, that is not a book I'm recommending for this particular. Okay, so 4 books inspired by stuff that has happened in the past. I'm noticing we have a theme in this particular one, but they were the 2 books that I thought of. I'm trying to go with books that I have not talked a lot about on my channel, if at all possible. I have 4 Muses Fire by Heidi Heilig. This follows a young woman who has this sort of like shadow magic that she uses for shadow puppets. It is highly looked down upon by the people who have conquered her country, and she and her family, like, she secretly uses it, but it's basically the only thing keeping her family going. And then somebody finds out that she has this magic, and there's this whole like, what's the word, chain of events that ends up happening. This is heavily based on, I believe, the East India Trading Company. I believe there are a couple of other like specific historical things, but it is specifically based on colonialism in East Asia and the East India Trading Company. And like some of the stuff that they did, I was definitely like drawing parallels between what was happening in this book and real history, just because as a former conservative and a child who was raised very Pentecostal evangelical, the East India, that period of time is very popular in Christian fiction, and that was what I read for most of my teens. We skipped the YA section and went straight to adult Christian fiction, so which is basically the same kind of content. The other one that this is a new favorite, and it is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. We follow Rin in this one, and Rin is a poor young girl from a small village, and in order to avoid getting married off, she passes this really hard to pass exam so she can get into the biggest, I guess, military school in her country because tuition is free. And she's like, I want to do this and be a soldier instead of getting married. And so we follow her as she's going through school, as she is discovering some things that she thought about the world were true, end up not being true. It is based upon not based upon, but there is a section in here, I think chapter 21, that is heavily based on what happened in Nanking when the Japanese invaded that city. So just, there are trigger warnings for literally every violent thing that can be done to people, and especially women, in that chapter. Just like blood, gore. It's funny because I was reading The Rape of Nanking, which is one of the books she used to research this. So going into it after having read that book and read like the detailed descriptions, it was not as shocking as I thought it was. But like a lot of those details, I was like, ooh, this would, if you don't know what you're going into, this is going to really hit you hard. And like, you're not going to know what to expect. So just know, like, that chapter, look up the trigger warnings for it, skip it if you need to. But this is such a good story, and it asks so many interesting questions, and I can't wait to see where we go in the next book. Like, we'll see if I'm still recommending this series when I've gotten to the 3rd book, because there's a high chance that I'll just be like, we're just going to pretend like I never read that, based on what I know of what it looks like might happen. On the other hand, it could end up being another like Mistborn thing where I'm like, well, this hurt me, but it was done so well that I still have to recommend it to people. So, all right, our final prompt for that's book related is Go the Distance, and that is to read a book about a hero on a quest. I am going to be reading Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. I have already actually kind of started this, which is totally doable. If you're doing Vaultathon, you can totally bring books that you are currently reading. This is a low-key readathon. Things are meant to be easy here. So stop that. We just got the haircut yesterday, or the bangs redone, and every time they blow my hair out, it becomes unmanageable because it's so silky. Like you need to rough it up and get some product in there. Anyways, this is about Mara, and she is trying to free her sister, and she starts that kind of journey. Her sister has been married off to a very abusive prince to be his baby making factory. And she's like, I want to get my sister out of this. And Mara, who's grown up in a convent, ends up, I believe it's a dust witch. She ends up requesting the help of a dust witch. And the dust witch gives her 3 quests that she needs to do, which is to build a dog of bones, sew a cloak of nettles, and capture moonlight in a jar. And we catch her in the middle of kind of completing these quests, because finishing the quests seems to be just the beginning of her story, where she's going to be, it's basically, it sounds like a very kind of old-fashioned type fairy tale. It's going to involve, from here, a disgraced ex-knight, a reluctant fairy godmother, and an enigmatic grave witch and her foul familiar. And that foul is spelled F-O-W-L, but I am sure that is a play on words. The writing in this is gorgeous. It's fantastic. The one thing I do want to point out, because I'm reading this, and the girl on this cover is white, and I will point out the author is right, but if you listen to the descriptions of her and her mother, now she is not as dark-skinned as her mother, but they are some shade of brown, and I'm like, this is why if they are described as brown, why? So anyways, I'm just wondering why the cover looks the way it does. That may not be anything the author had. I mean, the author may have said something about it, I don't know, but for that, our last 2 recommendations we have, I just realized these are both middle grade. I tried not to do that, but I guess that's what we're going with. The first one I have is Armshot and the End of Time by Roshni Chokshi. This is the first book in the Armshot series, and we will be doing the live show for this later today on Thor's channel, I think at like 8 o'clock. Oh, yes, thank you, Brianna. I did my best to turn it into something that I liked, because we were struggling. Okay, Brianna says a magic steeped in poison would be a good book for this prompt. I want to read that so badly. This, however, this book, I don't know what that one is about, but this book is about Ursha. And at the beginning of this book, she's trying to impress some friends, because she's been having, I just realized that this would also fit multiple prompts here. Specifically prompts 1 and this prompt. But she's been having issues in school. Everyone thinks that she is a liar because she maybe tells some tall tales. And she's trying to, it's like she has problems making friends, because she tends to go to very like prestigious, at least in this case, she's going to a prestigious kind of private school, and people think it's weird that she lied about, for example, like having someone, a driver that would drop her off, and people found out that no, she just gets dropped off down the street and she walks in. And so in trying to impress these people who are like, you're a liar and we know you're a liar, and convince them to be her friends, poor decision, I know, she lights a lamp that's not supposed to be lit, because the legend is that if you light it, it will release this demon, a bad person, a bad supernatural entity. And through doing this, she ends up finding out that she's actually the reincarnated soul of one of the Pandava brothers, only in this case, it is Pandava sisters. And she ends up having to go on this quest to stop the sleeper, get him back in his lamp, because if she does not, then time will end. So this is just such a fun, delightful series. I really liked Arusha as a main character. I think she is a very like relatable as a 12-year-old girl. Like a lot of what she does, it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, like 5 years, 3, 4, 5 years, you will be making very different decisions here. But I get why you're making the decisions you're making. She just like her need for people to love her is very, very, like very apparent. So, and then the other one that I have is Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky. This was one of the Avengers Initiative reading challenge. So many words there. Why did we do that? It's one of the Avengers group books for a couple of months ago. It's by Kwame Mbalia, and it is about Tristan Strong. This one focuses on specifically American South folklore, and then some of the folklore and mythology brought over to the United States by the people who were enslaved and who were made to basically kidnapped and made to work for free here. And he ends up, so basically what happens, the inciting incident is he's been having some issues personally. He just had his best friend die. He just lost this really, really important boxing thing that he was putting a lot of hopes on. And so because he is just so down and like his parents feel he needs a change of pace, they send him to his grandparents. And at his grandparents, he ends up accidentally, in trying to get like his journal back from this small mischievous magic creature called Gum Baby, he punches a hole in his grandparents' bottle tree, and that ends up punching a hole into the sky of Mid-Pass, and he falls, very much like Alice in Wonderland falls, for a very long time, and ends up embroiled in all of the stuff that is going on in Mid-Pass, which is kind of like basically a fictional world where he meets like John Henry, he meets Briar Rabbit, he meets a couple of other, oh my god, I should know these creatures, these names, because some of them I did grow up with, but I can't remember them. Anyways, you know who I'm talking about. He also ends up like meeting Anansi and other things, because he starts in Mid-Pass, which is very much based on the American South, and then he goes all the way to another continent, which is based more on West African mythology. So it's really good. It's really cute. I know there's maybe some pacing issues. Some people said I read the audiobook, and I read my audiobooks on 1.5 times speed, so I didn't notice those. But I'm also much more lenient when it comes to pacing myself. Anyways, so those are, I'm not going to pick those up and show them to you. No, that's not happening. But those are all the books that I recommend, or the books that I am reading for Vaultathon. I was not thinking this through when I just threw them behind me, but that's fine. It's great. Anyways, let me know in the comments what you will be doing for Vaultathon or what you will be reading soon. And if you are not feeling chatty but you still want to let me know that you watched to the end of the video, go ahead and leave me a book stack emoji, since this was a book recommendations video. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Check out some of the other videos I got. Check out the co-hosts down in the description box. Actually, I will have all the co-hosts linked down there. And we will see you tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. On my channel. And that is it for now, my friends. Happy reading. And I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye!